Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar, Uncover New Growth Opportunities with Retail Media. I'm Nicolette Deneen, and I am going to be moderating the webinar. We're super excited that you're here. As we go through it, please feel free to connect with us. Tweet with us at CybaHQ, hashtag retail media. And then feel free to use the question panel in the Zoom to ask any questions, and we will have time for Q&A after the presentation. And then we are recording this webinar for later playback and sharing. So feel free to check out the website in case you missed something, and it will be there. So let's meet our experts. So we are joined by Jordan Graham and Matt Markella. Jordan is an account director at Cyba with 6 years of experience in the ad tech space. It was specializing in trading media and media planning. He currently manages the team handling all of the enterprise level accounts here at Cyba. Welcome, Jordan. And then we are also joined by Matt. Matt is currently the media advertising operations manager here at Cyba with 4+ years of experience in the ad tech space. He specializes in building out in-house media advertising initiatives and really helps navigate Cyba through the programmatic space. Welcome, Matt. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited to talk through retail media networks today.
Yeah, likewise. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
So let's go through the agenda. We're going to start with what are retail media networks? Which ones do we have access to? Who does it work for? And then we're going to, cover the targeting and creative capabilities that we're able to look at. And then we're going to wrap it up with some key takeaways. And then, like I said, we will have time for Q&A at the end. So let's get into it. Jordan, you want to kick us off with what are retail media networks?
Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of give a high level, explanation of what they are. So a retail media network is a collection of digital channels. This is owned by a retail company and are offered to third-party businesses for advertising purposes. So this allows advertisers to promote goods being sold on these retail sites to users who are already on these sites in a shopping mindset. So an example there would be, running Amazon ads on Amazon.com to someone who's already shopping. Amazon.com would be considered a retail media network. So I will note that there are some limitations. Not everyone can just promote products on retail media networks, and we'll get into that as we go. But this is really focused on brands who are already selling their products on these retail networks.
Right. Yeah, Jordan, I couldn't agree more. And you may notice a lot of these ads on the marketplace sites, but you should see a little sponsored excerpt ads next to the asset. So it's more of a blended experience in the browsing experience as a user when you're going through the site. You can see here, this is an example of Target's marketplace. And you can see on the right-hand side, there's that little sponsored note that I just mentioned. So think of it as an in-store advertising in a digital format. Keep in mind that you can only advertise for products that are actively being sold on the online store, and we can get more into that later throughout the presentation. So for example, you could promote Oreo cookies on the Target site, but only drive to the product page on the Target.com site. So there, like I said before, is the example of a sponsored ad that you can access on the right-hand side, and it fits pretty seamlessly into the normal browsing experience as it's mixed in with the other products on the site.
Awesome. And Matt, just to clarify, so as a brand, you're not able to redirect back to your website. It all lives within the Target site, correct?
Right. Yeah. Most sites or marketplaces operate that way. It's a little bit different from marketplace to marketplace, but typically you need to make sure that it's an endemic product and that links to the marketplace that is on the actual site that it's advertising on.
Awesome.
So seeing that this trend, this fastest growing trend, in my opinion, this marketplace for retail media, it grew 53% in the last year, and it's projected to reach $52.2 billion next year. So it's definitely one of the more faster growing channels in the digital advertising space.
Awesome. Yeah, I was reading that it was named the third wave by eMarketer.
Right.
And that's crazy, the amount of growth. Jordan, can you talk through some of those growth drivers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go through all of these here, and they're all pretty important. So, a big reason why it's growing so fast is because you're reaching intent-driven audiences. So, unlike a lot of different ad platforms, you are reaching people as they are in a shopping mindset, as they're shopping, and you're basing your targeting based on what they're actively shopping for. So that shopper user intent is already there. This is truly first-party data. You're utilizing data for the brands from the site. So, I mean, it's first party data in the sense that it's data on the site that you're advertising on. And you can also, utilize that customer data on that site as well. The inventory is about as premium and brand safe as you can get across advertising. You're selling products from a brand who are already on these marketplaces. So if you're selling for a brand that's on target.com, they've already deemed that target.com is an appropriate place for their product to be listed. So that this is brand safe inventory, and it's premium inventory because it's where they want to sell their products. And last, this can really be used as a full funnel marketing tactic. You can reach people who are searching for your brand for super low funnel. You can reach people more mid funnel for people that are looking for the product type of the products you're selling. And you can even introduce someone to a new product category. An example there, would be, if you sell bike lights, someone might be searching for bikes on these sites, and you target to them. That they are interested, in that realm, but they might not yet know that they need a bike light. So that's kind of that upper funnel prospecting form of this as well. So it is truly full funnel.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, definitely. So these are the top retail media networks. And although there are lots of them, here are some examples of the big ones. So you have Target with 100 million monthly unique visitors, Amazon with 213 million, and Walmart with 120 million. So these are the largest and most widely used, and we operate on several different marketplaces. Here's the ones that we work with personally at Cyba. Each has its own unique way of targeting through their own network. Targeting is probably the biggest advantage you have utilizing these networks individually, and I think Jordan can take over a little bit more in detail over how that targeting can be accessed.
Yeah, absolutely. So the headline here is definitely a good one, and it is correct. Keywords are key. So really targeting on retail media networks is centered around keywords, and that's what you're going to be utilizing across a majority of these. So the targeting kind of mimics something that you might be familiar with from search engine marketing, your Google search or Bing search as an example, but you're reaching keyword types. And in the top, most commonly used product or keyword types across these retail media networks are product type, and that's going to be things like fishing gear, cooking tools, kind of like broader range keywords, but that are aligned with the product. Branded, which is going to be people actually searching for your brand, a brand name, something like Oreos or KitchenAid, things of that nature. One thing I did want to mention is that a majority of these retail media networks do have restrictions around competitor targeting. And what I mean about that, an example there to kind of explain that is if you're advertising for Hydro Flask water bottles, you are not going to be able to bid on Yeti keywords because they're a direct competitor.
Got it. And that's not always the case, but it sometimes is. Correct, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some, retail media sites that allow you to do competitor targeting. I think the biggest one in the space that does allow that is Amazon, but a lot of these other retail media networks that are big, your Targets of the world, for instance, do not allow for competitor targeting.
Which is really nice if you think about it, and kind of eliminates that competition for some of these brands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So the creative that you can run on these retail media networks can appear in the following places based on the network. You have the product detail page, the search page, the home page, and the category page. So there are some examples of each one that we can go through. And I believe this next one shows a product image ad that can include additions based on the network, such as coupon overlays, deals, promotions, etc. So here on the left, you have the homepage ad. You can see it takes over a majority of the online marketplace homepage. Pretty widely used, but you can see that it does have a sponsored ad notification at the bottom right-hand corner of the ad itself. And that's an example of the Target marketplace.
Yeah, and I can jump to the search results page. So as you can see here, these are a little bit different. They're not as like image and homepage focused, but the three on the bottom right are Dove ads. And those three images, as you can see, have the sponsored label next to them. So they almost look like organic listings of a Dove soap. However, they are sponsored ads. So whatever, this brand has decided to kind of highlight those and bid for those. And these are on Amazon.com. And then, looking at the next one, it's a similar example with the Dove soap, but let's say we clicked on one of those product listings and it took us to the product page. This is actually the PDP, the product page. You are allowed to show ads here as well. So, this is someone on a Dove, product, and there's Irish Spring being sponsored there on the product page where the blue arrow is pointing. In that, you can also see that has the sponsored label there. So that's how you know that is not an organic listing, but a sponsored ad as well.
Right, and on the right-hand side, the category page, pretty self-explanatory. You can see the bottom corner, the bottom part of the screenshot there is an example of an ad on Target.com. So this marketplace can be, you can utilize this kind of asset when you're on a specific category. And in this case, you can see that it's a cabinet category page. And you can basically utilize your targeting options on Target.com's marketplace to make sure that you're falling in line with your targeting strategy.
Awesome. And, I think this kind of goes well into talking about, retail brands. Now that we've talked about the creative and, what types of brands this works for. We've kind of mentioned this a couple times already, but I think it's really important. This type of advertising specifically works for retail brands only. And the one huge qualifier on this is that the brand already has its products live on the retailer they want to advertise on. To give you an example there, if you are a, seller of bikes, Amazon.com sells bikes. So if you were trying to, operate these ads and drive off of Amazon, you wouldn't be able to do that because it's a product that, can be sold on Amazon. So really this has to drive to the website that you're advertising on. And then the next point down is that service companies cannot host their products on retail networks. These are products, so they have to be able to be sold on these retail media networks. So if you're a contractor or a doctor's office or something like that, you're not going to be eligible to run ads on retail media networks because those type of services and products aren't endemic to the sites themselves.
Awesome. And I'm sure there's other options that we can talk about in future webinars for those people who are not eligible to be running on the retail media networks. Thank you, Jordan and Matt. Let's wrap it up with some key takeaways. So there's clearly opportunity for astronomical growth on retail media networks. We covered how this industry has really been growing over the last few years. The networks are not only a standalone offering, but they're a strategic supplement to what you're currently running on digital. Whether you're running paid social, display, or search, this really lends itself nicely to mix in with those. And it's also a great option for, like we said, those brands that are currently selling within the retail network. So not necessarily someone who's not already there, or maybe someone who wants to list products, but there is less competition to deal with, which we talked about because there is, limits around bidding on some of those competitor keywords and things like that. And then, to wrap it up, they really offer a robust targeting option and then creative option as well. So that you saw all of the different placements, that doesn't even scratch the surface of all the things that we could do with the creative there. And as always at SciBo, we're definitely open to conversations and helping you strategize. So feel free to reach out with anything, but let's get into Q&A. So if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box. And we can answer those. It looks like we got one during the presentation. And Matt or Jordan, I don't know who wants to take it, but are there options for people who do not have products listed on the retail networks? What do those look like?
Yeah, I can jump in here quickly. So as we mentioned, a majority of these places you have to have your products listed in order to promote them. And in pretty much every single circumstance, if you're a seller of products that could be listed on these, you're not going to be able to drive off of the platform. However, there is one kind of way that we can utilize retail media network data for companies that can't promote on this, and that would be on Amazon. Amazon offers something called Amazon DSP, which is a little separate from their standard retail network. And with that, if you are selling a services, if you are selling, someone to utilize a services company or something that can't be sold on Amazon, you can utilize Amazon data on Amazon inventory as well, and drive off of Amazon. So that's kind of the one area where we can, utilize this data for non products that are sold endemically. And it's actually a really good way to kind of, get like a company, like let's say a contractor, to reach people who are searching for related Amazon products, and then drive for them to sign up for your service. So that's kind of the one area where we see that could be done.
Awesome. And then we have another one. Is there specific creative that needs to be provided for these ads?
I can touch on that a little bit. So there are certain creative guidelines per marketplace. For example, there needs to be we discussed Amazon briefly. They have very specific guidelines on promotions, discounts, and things like that. They need to be very direct, and in their guidelines specify certain promotions can't be used actually, and also depending on the asset you're using, such as like a homepage 970 by 250 dimension asset, certain call to actions need to be verified or removed depending on the inventory. So each marketplace has its own guidelines for its creatives, which is why we typically try to advise our clients at Saiba to work with our creative team, depending on the marketplace they want to run on, because we have a little bit more of a experience navigating around those specifications and working with the platform to get them through the auditing process.
Awesome. And then one last question about reporting. What are we able to track, and what does that reporting look like, Matt or Jordan?
Yeah, I could definitely touch on that. So similar to any kind of other advertising platform, you're going to be able to see kind of your top level metrics. How many impressions you served, how many clicks you drove, kind of CTR, CPM, kind of those standard media metrics. And you can usually get this by keyword or by ad group, or however you break out your builds. Additionally, you are able to track, how many products and how much revenue was sold from these individual retailers. So it's actually kind of nice, because since you're running on these retail media networks, unlike if you were driving to your own site from a third-party platform, you would have to place a pixel to kind of capture that conversion data and that revenue data. Since we're, running these on the retail media sites themselves, and they kind of track that already, it doesn't require a pixel, but you can still get that what product was sold data, revenue by product, revenue by ad group, conversion. So kind of your full suite of conversion focused ad metrics are available to you, on each of these individual retail media networks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I think that wraps up the questions. But as always, if you have any questions, or you want to continue the conversation or strategize a little bit more, feel free to reach out to us at marketing@saiba.com. And then always tweet with us at Saiba HQ. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.